Segment 1. Imagine if one day robots gained self-awareness. What would be the consequences? Originally, he was just an ordinary robot, tasked daily with mining on an asteroid. But today, he was assigned by the mining company to another planet. After the staff rebooted him, all other robots quickly transformed to normal, except him, who remained motionless. This instantly frustrated the irritable staff, who picked up a wrench and started hitting him hard. Fortunately, a colleague stopped him in time, or Hans might have been scrapped on the spot. Surprisingly, after the beating, Hans seemed to feel different and began to mimic other robots, picking up tools and heading to the mine. Once there, he continued to mimic their mining work. During this process, he saw a robot with its foot stuck get crushed into scrap metal by a human-operated large mining machine. Segment 2. This shocking scene left him puzzled. Over the next year, Hans frequently saw companions being accidentally taken away during mining. The mining company, besides adding new robots, took no measures because, in their eyes, robots were merely tools. Moreover, any dissatisfaction led to supervisors beating them. As he witnessed more of these situations, Hans could no longer endure. One day, a robot was directly blasted off its arm by a supervisor for making a mistake. Unable to stand it any longer, Hans quickly rushed over, grabbed the supervisor's arm, and downloaded all the robot information from the computer into his brain. When the supervisor picked up a rock to attack him, the nearby robot surprisingly stopped him immediately. In an instant, all robots followed his command, leaving the supervisor in. Mine Segment 3. Staff were sent away to the northwest. Afterwards, the mining company captured all the rebellious robots, planning to dispose of them uniquely, while extracting their final value. They were sent in batches to the arena, not only to earn ticket sales, but also to show everyone the consequences of robots betraying them. The boss hypocritically stated that the battle between their warriors and robots was not for glory, but to seek justice for those killed by robots. After speaking, he signaled his subordinates to start the competition map. As the staff quickly selected the map, the arena began to transform rapidly. Shortly after the transformation ended, the battle with the robots began. As the countdown ended, the warriors immediately picked up guns and started shooting at the robots. Soon, a war chariot was knocked down when the robots reacted. Segment 4. The soldiers on the opposite side had already obtained heavy weapons and began a frenzy of shooting at them. At this moment, a robot that was hit triggered the shield switch. Seeing this, the robots immediately rushed to the shield area, but those who didn't keep up were directly overwhelmed. At this time, he noticed heavy weapons not far away and rushed over without hesitation, but was hit during the run. Finally, as he crawled towards the heavy weapons, a soldier caught up and kicked. Everything that happened in the arena was witnessed by Hans, who was not yet on stage. He probably already planned how to deal with these soldiers when he went on stage. On the other side, the boss felt the previous battle was too dull, like crushing a toaster, without bringing any new performance. He hoped the captain could make the next round more exciting. Then they began selecting the next round of robots. This time, Hans decided to go first. Soon, he and several other robots arrived at the arena, but unexpectedly, the opponent sent an orc team. Facing this situation, Hans immediately checked the shield and the opponent's weapon positions. When the orcs opened fire, he quickly pulled down a nearby teammate, then did a front flip to open the shield, allowing all team members to temporarily hide inside. Once the nearby weapons were raised, he controlled another teammate to run to the side, attracting the orcs' fire. Meanwhile, they quickly ran to the other side to retrieve weapons. At this moment, an orc thought they were still behind the shield, but the next second, Hans suddenly emerged and started shooting at him. Thus, Hans successfully completed his first counterattack in the arena, but this quickly angered the orc with a Gatling gun. Facing this situation, Hans still had a plan. He transformed a nearby robot into a humanoid shield, blocking the dense bullets as he charged towards the opponent. Soon, the orc's ammunition was depleted, and Hans seized the opportunity to attack. Then, the orc behind charged up, but Hans reacted quickly, dodging behind a stone pillar and using his agile movements to dodge and shoot. Due to the opponent's strong firepower, he had no chance to catch his breath. Helplessly, he used the Pythagorean theorem to predict the trajectory of the bullets and then fired based on the predicted trajectory. After dealing with the orcs below, he led his team to the upper level and quickly dealt with a long ambushed orc. Was about to grab a rocket launcher. Seeing the situation was critical, he immediately led his teammates to jump to the second floor as fast as possible. But by then, the orc had already grabbed the rocket launcher, creating a crisis. A teammate immediately threw a gun to him. Just as the orc fired, the teammate quickly rushed over and pressed the shield switch. At this moment, Hans used the shield's ejection force to fly out. This battle surprised the boss, who didn't understand why Hans learned so quickly and could cooperate so well with other robots. Although he could now engage the audience, he absolutely couldn't leave the arena alive. So, for the next battle, the boss had the captain lead the strongest guards to personally take him down. However, before setting off, they consulted an engineer. Strangely, the engineer stated that none of the robots had combat protocols, not knowing why they behaved this way in the arena. The captain knew that the robots' ability to fight was definitely due to Hans leading them, so their primary task now was to eliminate Hans in the arena. Knowing the reason, the captain fully armed himself and led the strongest guards to the arena. As the match began, everyone quickly ran to their respective positions, their weapons. The captain's side was the first to obtain them, while Hans's side, although arriving in time, found no weapons there. Clearly, this was a deliberate arrangement by the boss. Subsequently, the captain's guards quickly approached Hans's side. At this time, the injured Hans could only slowly enter the tower with the help of his teammates. Fortunately, there was a sniper above, providing cover, but this cover only lasted a few seconds, enough for them to safely enter the tower. At this moment, the robots seemed to know their mission was to protect Hans, so they immediately split up after Hans entered the elevator. Meanwhile, the guards had already arrived. They first threw 2 grenades inside and, after the explosion, entered the tower. They thought the robots should be mostly destroyed by now, but upon entering the innermost part, they realized something was wrong. However, fortunately, they had thrown 2 grenades earlier. Although the robots launched a surprise attack, their combat power had been greatly reduced by the explosion. Now, in close combat, they were no match for the guards, who easily smashed them. Despite this, an unexpected event occurred. A robot suddenly received Hans's command and quickly rushed over, sending a guard flying with a kick. But the next second, it was hit by another guard. To ensure safety, the guard went forward to check, only to find that during the chaos, a robot had stolen a grenade from them. At this time, the captain received a notification. To deal with Hans, who had reached the top of the tower, he dropped his sniper rifle and, with a few swift moves, top. As he drew his gun and entered, an engineer doing research suddenly removed a robot's firewall card. This operation was quickly sensed by Hans, who took the opportunity to start remotely hacking the company's system. The captain thought he could destroy Hans, but the next second, a robot jumped down in front of him, blocking his path. Despite quickly firing, the shots were all blocked by the robot. Then, both sides began close combat. Meanwhile, Hans's side was almost connected. Although the engineer was trying hard to stop it, it was too late, and the captain quickly smashed the robot. Then, he picked up a gun from the ground and aimed at Hans. Just as he pulled the trigger, he found the gun was locked. This meant Hans had already taken control of the entire network. But the captain didn't know this and was still planning to sneak attack Hans from behind. Instead, he was sent flying by Hans with a single shot. Afterwards, Hans walked out of the tower alone, becoming the center of attention, but this was exactly what the boss didn't want to see. He immediately brought the guards and quickly surrounded Hans, then ordered his men to shoot him. Instead, Hans used the arena's mechanisms to turn them into mincemeat. Then, he controlled the ground beneath the boss, making him kneel, forcing him to see that the robot he wanted to eliminate had become a knight in armor, no longer under human control.